Hi everyone, it's Sam from Sitemate. In this video, we're going to run through everything in Dashpivot that you'll want to set up in order for your teams to get started and make the most of the software. So once you've signed up and activated your account, there are basically 6 things that you need to set up so that your team can properly get started with the software. Those are set up your company branding, set up your projects and teams, setting up your templates and any lists linked to those templates, setting up your analytics, setting up your photo tags, and of course, setting up your users so that they can start to use the software. So to begin, the first thing that you need to set up is your company branding. So that means your logo and your color scheme. Inside of Dashpivot, this is really important because whenever you export any photos or forms from your templates outside of Dashpivot, you're going to want your company logo to appear at the top and your company colors. So the place where we're going to do this is if we navigate to the navigation bar up the top here, we need to click on the organization. So in this case, it's ABC Contractors. I'm going to click on that. It'll load the home section and we need to navigate across to the settings tab. And you'll see that we have 2 fields here. We have logo and then we have color scheme. Now for the logo, we just need to choose a file that we have. So in this case, here's an image file which I've prepared earlier. And then below that we have the color scheme. So this is where we can pick our company color. In this case, I've already got a green sort of setup, so I'm just going to pick something which is close and save that. Essentially, when you export a PDF, your logo will appear at the top and there'll be a breaker between the header and the body and the footer, and that line breaker will be this color that you choose here. So I'll show you that a little bit later in this video, but for now this is all that we need to set up for our company branding. So that's step 1 complete. The next step that we need to do is set up all of our projects and our teams. Now the way that we do this is we open up the nav bar and you'll see that we have this first project set up here, and there's this big button that says add project. We need to click that button and then we can give our project a name. I'm just going to make one up, T8 Highway Upgrade. Maybe we're working on a civil project, and then we can set up teams. We need to create at least 1 team per project. So I'm just going to call this one North Team and one for South Team. Now, depending on how big the project is, you may want to add more teams. Most small jobs probably only need 1 team, where you've got maybe 10 or so people or less working on the project. You'd only need 1 team. But as soon as you've got 20, 30 people, they're probably working in different areas or different aspects of a project, it makes sense to break it up into multiple teams just to keep the information inside of them more relevant to the people who are using the software. So we've set up 2 teams for this project, and I'm just going to create a second one. I'm just going to call it, maybe it's a building job, 64 High Street. And again, we're just going to set up 2 teams. So I'm just going to call this one Zone 1 and Zone 2. And once we're happy with that, I'm going to hit save. And you'll see that in the navigation bar now, we've got our projects and we've got our project teams inside of those projects all set up. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete this Your First Project just to keep everything nice and neat. So it's just our projects. So we've got those set up here. And that's, I guess, the step for setting up projects and teams done. So that's complete. So the next step is to set up all of our templates and any of our lists. Essentially, there's two ways that we can set up our templates, depending on what you want to do. So if you want to set up a template to be standardized across every project and every team that uses it, for example, if you've got a safety inspection template and you want it to be the same template, the same form that's being filled out across every job, the best place to do that is to set it up inside of the template library. So if we're looking at the organization, we can navigate to the template library and we can add a template in here. The other option that I'll show you a little bit later on is setting up a template inside of one of these teams. So if it's project or team specific, we can also set up a template that will be unique to any of these teams. But I'll show you both options. To start with, we'll set one up in the library, and then from here we'll deploy it out to all of our project teams. The first step is, of course, to click this green button that says Add New Template. You'll see that we've got two options. The first is to choose from our free public template library, and the second is to create your own from scratch. Now, in this example, I'm going to choose from the free public template library, just to show you how that works. If I click on that, it's going to load a couple hundred templates, which are already set up in our free Dashpivot public library. These are templates that are ready to go out of the box. So if I type in safety inspection, you'll see that it comes up at the top here. We can see that it's a safety oriented template. I'm just going to select that and click the green button at the bottom. And we've now added that to our template library. And from here, it's very easy to deploy this out to every project that we have running. We can simply click deploy, and we can choose which teams we want to deploy it to, or we can just select all. In this case, I want every project that we have set up to be using this template, so I've just selected all, and I'll click Save Changes. Now, just a quick note on this, if we need to make any amendments to this template, because maybe this one's quite comprehensive, so if you want to take some things out or add some other things in, it's very easy. You just click Edit, and then it will load the template builder. You'll be able to go through all of the fields, drag and drop basically inside the template builder, the relevant fields in here, maybe adjust the settings if you need to, and from here, if you make any changes and those are saved, those will be deployed across every project and every team where this template has been deployed. So you don't need to redeploy it. It's all automatic. It happens in the background. Everyone who's got it Dashpivot installed on their phone, it will just automatically update in the background. So that's the first way that we can set up a template and deploy it out. The second way is if we want to set up one specific to any of these teams. So I'm just going to go to this Highway Upgrade North team. I'm going to head across to the templates section, and you can see actually already that the weekly safety inspection template, which we set up just before, has been deployed to this team. So we can click on that and we could start to add a new inspection, and we could go ahead and start to fill it out. But in this case, we want to set up something specific now for this team. So I'm just going to go back to the template section instead of filling that out, and I'm going to click this Add New Template button. And you'll see that we've got some options again. The only difference here is that we have this middle option, this third option now, where we can choose from the ABC Contractors template library, which is where we just set up our safety inspection template earlier. But in this example, I'm going to show you how we can create one from scratch. So I'm going to choose this third option, create your own template. It's going to prompt us to enter some information. So we're just going to call it a daily site diary. We're going to give it a template ID, so it might just be ABC Contractors Commercial 01. Give it a form name, which would just be diary. We'll set it up tagged as a commercial template. And then we've got two options here. One's timeline, one's workflow. We've got a video that goes into the detail of the difference between these two, particularly on the workflow. In short, if you're filling out something on a routine basis, and a diary is an excellent example where you've got entries day by day or week by week, you want to store those all in chronological order. The alternative with the workflow is that with things like permits or defects to be tracked or variations, these things are forms where they need to be signed off by multiple people, or there are multiple steps involved in the process of closing things out. So it's possible to set up a workflow where a form, once it's been created and signed off, it'll move across to the next column. Once it gets signed off again, it'll move to the next one, etc. As I said, we've got a video that goes into a little bit more detail. For now, I'll keep it short, and we'll just run with this timeline option. Once we're ready, we'll just click the Next button, and it will open up the template builder. From here, the way that the template builder works is we've got a number of fields on the left here. We've got text, date, checkbox, etc. And in the middle of the screen, we've got the template itself. And all we have to do is click and drag on any of these fields and drag them onto our template here. So I'm just going to drag in some very simple fields and start to build out this template. And each field that we drag in has multiple options. So I'm just going to create a very basic daily diary template. I'm going to set it up so it's just a single date at the top. So instead of being a date range, I'm going to switch it to being a single date, which is the way that the information will be inputted by your teams in the field. I'm going to set up a category field for the weather. I'm going to enter some options, so it might be fine, rainy, windy, stormy. And we can change the colors of these if we want. We can make them all a little bit different. We're going to add a section for shift activities where we can write in a summary of what happened that day. I'm going to switch it from single line to multi-line in case the people filling out this form want to add bullet points or make some things bold or highlight some pieces of information. I'm going to drag in a section for photos, and then I'm going to drag in a couple of table fields for tracking labor, plant, and materials. Labor, plant, materials. And we're going to add a section at the bottom just for a sign-off. So the supervisor, he or she will have the option to sign it off at the end of the day. So once we've got this here, we're going to configure our tables. So it's the way that the tables work is you configure all of your columns and the type of input for each column. So you've got a number of options here. And when you go to fill out one of your forms, in this case a diary, you can add as many rows as you want, but in each column it's basically defined how you're going to input that information. So if it's a drop down, if it's a photo, if it's a signature or just text, you have all of those options to set up in here. So I'm just going to set this up really simply. I'm going to call this column subcontractor. The next one might be start time, finish time, hours, and then comments. And because we've got an hours column, I'm just going to switch that to a number so that it's compatible with the analytics, which I'll show you in just a moment. And I'm going to do the same thing for plant. And then we're going to do something slightly different for materials. We're just going to call it supplier, description, quantity, and then maybe comments just in case. You never know. You can always edit this later down the track if it works for you, or you need to add in or remove some things later. But once we've got this all set up, I'm pretty happy with this. The last thing that I'm going to want to do is make sure that as we fill out all of our diaries, in this particular case, we want to make sure that they're all ordered by the date that's inputted onto the diary and not the creation date. So I'm going to switch across to the settings, and I'm going to come down to this section here that says sort forms by, and it's going to show me two options, creation date or this date field. So I'm going to click the creation date just to make sure that if in the event where all the diaries are done on a Friday for the whole week, they're all going to show up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc., instead of all coming up on Friday. And I'm going to choose to display the date on the form thumbnail. It's going to show up something like this. I'll show you that in just a moment. But now that we've set everything up, this looks really good. When we get to the analytics, I'll show you how we can set up some drop-down lists because that's basically the way that the analytics works. But for now, we're happy with this. We're going to hit save. And you'll see that now, if we head back to templates, we've got our two templates set up here, our safety inspection and our daily site diary. If we click on daily site diary, obviously no forms have been created just yet, but we could go ahead and click add diary, and you can see that this is the template which we've just set up. So we can enter in the date if we need to. We can punch in the weather, shift activities, maybe it's site establishment complete today. We can add some photos, and then we can start to populate each of these tables as required. And of course, sign it off at the bottom, stamp our signature with the time and date on here. Now, Once we're happy with our forms, of course, we can save it, and that's now sitting here inside of Dashpivot. But the last thing that we're going to want to do in terms of templates is, as I mentioned, with the tables at the moment, we've set it up so that it's a text entry, which means that we're going to manually have to type in the subcontractor names and the plant IDs and the supplier names every time we want to fill out this form, which may not be actually the fastest way to fill them out. Maybe we want to have a drop-down menu here. And so I'm going to show you how to set that up. And it's very relevant because it will affect the way that our analytics plays out in just a moment. But essentially, we're going to set up our lists, and then we're going to link those lists back to our template via the template builder here. So the place where we can edit those lists is actually not in the team, it's actually in the project. So we're going to head out of the North team, we're going to go to the project, and we're going to go to the list section. And you can see that nothing has been set up just yet, so we need to go ahead and create some lists. So I'm going to press this green button, I'm going to call our first list subcontractors. And I'm going to add in a few examples. So it might be AA excavations, BB contractors, CC civil. Of course, we can add as many items as we need to this list. We can also remove them later. I'll create a list for plant, and let's just say we've got 10-ton excavator, 15-ton excavator, and a 20-ton. And we'll create one last list for suppliers. And we might just say this is DD concrete and EE steel. That'll do. So we've got our three lists now set up, and we want to link these back to our daily diary template so that these options can be selected. So we're going to head back to our template, which, as we set it up, was specific to this team. So we're going to go back to that team. We're going to go to the templates section. We're going to go back to our daily diary and open up the template builder. So we just need to click this edit template button, scroll down to our three tables which we have here, and we're going to change this text input to a list input. And we're going to refer to the lists which we've just set up. We're going to select subcontractors for this subcontractor column. We're going to choose plant for the plant column, and of course supplier for the supplier column. We've got a video that's dedicated to explaining how the list works and all the intricacies of why you would want to set them up as lists and not manually typed lists. But I'll leave that for another video. For now, I'm happy with the way that this is set up, so I'm just going to save that. We've got one diary entry here, but we've adjusted our template now, so this diary entry still has the text input, so I'm just going to delete that. And instead, I'm going to go ahead and create some diary entries now, which are going to help us understand the way that the analytics works. So I'm going to create 5 entries for this week, and then we're going to look at analytics. So now that we've created 5 diaries, you can see that we've got them for this whole week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Friday. We've got 5 diary entries, but before we move on to analytics and showing you how we can pull out some of the information from our labor table and plant hours, I just want to show you what this looks like when it's exported to see where that logo and that color scheme show up. So if I click on one of these diaries, we can see the information that's been added, so the date, the weather, the activities, and then some information about the labor and plant. At the top, you'll see that there's a download PDF button. We can simply just click download PDF. If I go to open that up, we can open up our diary here, and you can see the way that it gets exported. So you can see that we've got our company logo up the top here. We've got our color scheme set up here, so it's breaking up the header and the body, and also at the bottom, the body and the footer. Of course, this is a very basic diary, so it's only a one-pager, but you can see all of the information that's been entered inside the table, set up nice and neat. So I just thought I'd show you basically where that branding is going to come out. Back into Dashpivot, so I'm just going to close that. What I'm going to show you with the analytics is essentially how we can pull the information from all of these diaries and plot it visually. So if we head to register view, and that's just going to display all of your diaries, in this case, in a register view, similar to Excel. You can see all the information that's been inputted, and this is our labor table broken up into those 4 columns. So we've got our subcontractors here, and then for each day we've got start and finish time and then our hours. And it's this hours column which is what we're going to be plotting over time with the analytics. So it's just going to be pulling this info. So I'm going to head across now to the analytics section, and nothing has been set up yet. So the first step is to set up a dashboard, and then once we've set up a dashboard we can add a chart. So if I click the green button, I'm going to call this one labor hours, and the next step is to set up a chart. So we just need to click this add chart button, and it'll give us a few options. The first is quantity, so we're just going to run with that. We're going to select which template we're going to pull the information from. So we want to select the site diary because that's the one that we just set up. Hit next, and now we just define where in that template we're pulling the information from. So it's actually from the labor table. So all your tables will show up here. Click on labor, and then we need to choose the column inside of that table. So imagine we've got all of our columns for subcontractor, start and finish, and hours. We want to pull the hours column. So we're going to select that from here, and we're going to hit next. And it's automatically, because we've filled out some diaries already, it's going to plot this straight away. So this might not be the case for you. If you haven't filled out a bunch of diaries, this might look blank. But as your team starts to use Dashpivot and starts to use it for, in this case, a daily diary as an example, you'll be able to pull out and plot that information visually. And you can see it's broken down by our list, which we set up. So we've got AA, BB, and CC. And if I hover on any of these colors, we can actually see the breakdown. So on this day, it was 6 hours for dark blue, 5 hours for light blue, and 5.5 hours for the yellow. We can also isolate any of these. So we can apply a filter and select from that list which we had. So maybe we want to look at just the hours for AA excavations. We can see that plotted over time. And the other thing to keep in mind is that we can always look at the cumulative amount as well. So we've got that option there. We do have a video that sort of details the analytics and how that works. But for now, this is a very simple way to start automatically plotting information using the analytics tool. One of the last steps which we need to do is we need to set up our photo tags. So these are unique to each team which is set up. So the tags in the North team will be different to the tags at South, and obviously very different to the tags that we would want to have set up on other projects. So what we're going to do is we're going to, inside this team, we're going to head across to the photos section. No photos have been uploaded just yet, but you can see we've got our filters across the top for date and people and site notes and tags. There is a video that goes into detail as to how all of this works, so I'll leave that for another time, but we're going to set up our photo tags just so that we can get started. We've got project photo tags and team photo tags. Now, on the surface they look similar, but the difference is that the project photo tags will appear in every team inside of this project. So they'll appear in the North team and the South team if we set those up. And if we set up the team photo tags, those are only going to appear in our team which we're setting them up for. In this case, it's the North team. So we're going to set up both. So I'm going to click on Edit next to the project photo tags. I'm going to click on Add Tag Group. So the way that it works is you set up a tag group, you add your tags in, and that's kind of like a categorization of that set of tags. So I'll show you what I mean. So if we call this one General, because it's obviously for every team on the project, we're just going to set this up with safety, quality, environment, maybe commercial. A really good one is delays and defects, maybe dockets, whatever is going to be relevant for every team on this project. So the general stuff is perfect. You can always come back and edit and add or remove tags later down the track. So I'm just going to hit save for now. Because these are the project photo tags, they actually sit at the project level. So we need to go back to our team now in order to see those tags. Head to Photos, and you'll see that all of those tags have appeared. So these have appeared in this team and also in the South team. If I go to their Photos section as well, you can see that those are there. But I'm going to head back to the North team, head to Photos, and now inside the team photo tags, I'm going to set up two sets of tags, one for areas and one for work types. And these are going to be very specific to just this team. So I'm going to click Edit, and under Team Photo Tags, I'm going to add a new tag group. I'm going to call it Areas, and I'm going to break it down into zones. So we're going to have Zone A and Zone B, maybe Zone C as well. So we've got a few options there. I'm going to save that. So these are our areas. These are our tags for areas, and we'll set up another tag group for work types. Now, given that this is a highway upgrade project, we're going to set up some tags which are very specific to the types of works that they might be doing. So it might be earthworks, paving, drainage, concrete, and maybe utilities. Of course, you can set up as many as you need. This is highly going to depend on the type of projects which your company is working on. So this will look different for everyone. But in this case, I'm happy with what's set up. I'm going to save that. And then if I head back to the Photos section, you see that we have all of our tags here. So now every time we go to upload a photo, whether it's using the mobile app, the tablet app, or on the computer, we now have the option to tag our photos with any of these tags, and you can tag multiple tags per photo. And once those tags have been applied, let's say that we've got thousands of photos or hundreds or thousands of photos stored in here. If we wanted to look up all of the photos from Zone A, all that we would have to do is click Zone A, and that would return all of the results. So we've got a video that goes into much more detail around the photos and can run through some live examples. But for now, this is pretty much good to go. So this team has got their photo tag set up. They can start uploading photos. They've got two templates set up. One is a standardized template for the organization. The other is for this team specifically. And now the only step that's remaining is to add in all of our users. So now that that's good to go, we're going to head to the home section for this particular team. And you'll see that on the left-hand side of the home section, we've got these different levels of permissions. We've got team members, we've got team controllers, and project controllers. And if you want to learn about the differences between all of them, we've got this handy little article here, which explains in detail the differences. In short, your team members are going to be your site supervisors, your engineers, anyone who's out on site who might be uploading photos and filling out forms in the templates section. Your team controllers have one level of permissions above that, so they'll be able to add other people to a team, they'll be able to edit those photo tags that we were looking at, and they can add in new templates. And your project controllers have the same ability as team controllers, but for all teams on a project. So if I was a project controller, I could do everything a team controller can do except on both of these teams. And in addition, we can also edit the project specific settings. So that's really the key difference, but I definitely recommend having a bit of a read through of the differences. From here, I think that we've covered all the steps in this video that are required in order to first get started. Basically from here, everything should be good to go. If you have any questions, you're stuck on something, you want to find out how to do something very specific, or you want to look at any of these areas in more detail, we do have a help center. So you can click this question mark up the top. We've got a series of articles. A lot of them have pictures and videos or animations explaining the different aspects of Dashpivot, everything that you could possibly think of. There's a search bar at the top, so you can search for, let's say, something to do with photos. You can see that these are some frequently asked questions. We can click on any of these and it'll come up with an article that'll sort of run you through how to do anything inside of Dashpivot. That said, if there's something specific which you're trying to do which you can't find, we do have a live chat as well. So you can always click on this button. You can start a new conversation with myself or one of the other people inside the team, and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. So that concludes all of the steps in this getting started video about Dashpivot. I hope that the content has been really useful. Feel free to watch it again, and thanks for watching.